Welcome to Sam Gale Talks, back again for another video. This time I'm joined by Portsmouth Women's manager Jay Sadler. Jay, thank you for coming on.
No problem at all.
Just going to start off, how's isolation been for yourself?
It's been pretty crazy, to be honest. Lending a hand with everything other than football, which is a little bit different. Normally it's football all the time. Or most part of my life will be involved with football. So when it's not, and trying new skills at home and spending time with a family. So in a way, it's been a bit of a blessing, really, and I really enjoyed the time. Yeah.
And then what's the contact been like with your players, and obviously what's the general feeling around the squad?
Yeah, no, they've been brilliant. The players and the staff, we've kept in contact with them through probably a weekly basis via Zoom calls. From a team basis, we've been doing fitness sessions like most people have done, and maybe a few little technical sessions as well, and also keeping in touch with them just individually. We've got a real good group of players and a real good togetherness down at Portsmouth. So when we are discussing anything from what we've been up to in isolation, what's going to happen in the future, just been having general conversations with them, which has been really good. And now with the FA guidelines coming into place about getting involved in group training, we're looking at starting that now, setting that down, what it'll look like, how it'll look, and then start with that as soon as, really.
Brilliant. Have they started training again, or is it just a gradual weekly thing to see how it goes?
Yeah, really a gradual process in a way. We've like I said, a lot of it's been away from contact, and it's been all via social. Via electronic apps, Teams, Zoom, everything really. So it's been a bit different, but something that we're going to take into the future. I think it's kind of lent a hand of how much technology can have a big impact on sub-elite environments. With us only training twice a week, how can we use technology moving forward? So that's been really good. But no, it's next week we start our individual group training. So we've got them in groups. Based on their location, and try to give it a little position specific. So we've got 4 groups of 5, including myself will be the 6th to adhere to the FA guidelines. And then I'll be travelling to an area close to that group of people with all the equipment, so I can maintain that, sterilise it, etc., and do a 2-hour session with them every week before hopefully we gradually build up, so we're allowed to get full contact in a venue altogether.
Yeah. Just to get a little bit of background on yourself, obviously I was just talking to you before, Liverpool fan. What are your first footballing memories, and was there any particular manager you looked up to?
First footballing memories, used to go to a lot of the games. Used to go to a few Tranmere Rovers games, to be fair, back on the Wirral. So to see them getting relegated through this points per game system is quite hard. Obviously, I feel for them, and they're a club that I grew up in. It's probably one of my fondest memories watching Tranmere. Portsmouth fans will probably be happy to hear. It was an FA Cup then. Must have been about 7 or 8 at the time. Went with my dad, and we were playing Southampton at Prenton Park, and they were 3-0 down at half time. And if I'm right, Tranmere were at the time they were like Division 1, Division 2, not the leagues, but I think they were equivalent to League 1. Southampton in the Premier League, and Paul Rideout scored a hat-trick, and Tranmere came back from 3-0 down to win 4-3. So that was a good footballing memory. And then also going to some of the Liverpool games as well. So kind of support your local team, and they're away you can go to some of the Liverpool games at home with my dad. And unfortunately, he gave up his season ticket when he met my mum. So trying to get tickets for that is impossible. Some of the Champions League games, Olympiacos in the Champions League at home, and a couple of other games, Dortmund, Lovren scoring. There's a few good memories following them, footballing wise, and the cup finals, both with Tranmere when they made the Millennium Cup final in 2000, and some of the cup finals at Liverpool. So some real fond memories. And in terms of managers, obviously everyone will say Jurgen Klopp, really, because you're a Liverpool fan, and I think most, if they take away their alliances to the footballing teams, they'll respect the guy for what he's done in football. Absolutely. And what a charismatic and unbelievable manager, really. But I think mine was more the footballing aspect. I had good affiliation with Crewe at the time and with Tranmere when I was a kid, and watching some of them players, it was more looking up to players like Jason Kumas at the time and Nick Powell at Crewe and Danny Murphy and them kind of players, and never really did I feel at my age I'd go into coaching and managing so soon. And now I have done it. It's kind of looking at managers all across the spectrum, both in England and abroad too.
Yeah, absolutely. Just going to start with your obviously involvement with Portsmouth. How did you end up joining Portsmouth, and was there any sort of preconceptions going into it? Just because you said you'd never obviously worked with ladies in the football, in a footballing sense.
Yeah, no, my earliest with women's football, my earliest memories were obviously staying up late watching England when they were, I think it was over in Canada and Brilliant. In the World Cup. I think that just taught the nation really, and got you really involved in the exposure. Then was fantastic, and I think that's the biggest issue has been the exposure. Now the exposure is big. A lot of people understand women's football is on the growth, and rightly so, and it's also aligned with a lot of men's teams. So when I was younger, I wasn't fully aware that teams I followed or teams I played for had women's teams. There was never that really interaction or integration really. But I started coaching when I moved down to Portsmouth. Fair few years now to go to university, just something different. Got into coaching there with a lad called Kieran Lewis, or Cammy his name was. Got into a little bit of coaching there and kind of learnt the basics, did a little for Arsenal soccer schools in the summer, a little bit of a money earner as well, and that was kind of really good just to kind of start at the basic levels really, growing from level 2 upwards. I think I got my level 1 when I was playing, and then got into Bournemouth's academy with Bruce Sarachi. You might know his brother. Yeah, he was phenomenal for me. I owe him quite a lot from my personal growth as a coach. Got me in there with Jamie Harris at Bournemouth Academy, working with the under-9s and kind of giving me a bit of a free role really to kind of get an understanding of what coaching is about and how the academy system works. And the travel was difficult, don't get me wrong, going over to Bournemouth during a week. Quite difficult juggling it with university. And then I saw something come up at Portsmouth and I applied for a boys' academy role. And I don't really know, even to this day, don't really know how it ended up, but I ended up going to a girls' session. I don't know where my email went or whatever, and I ended up at Portchester School, and all these girls were playing, and I was thinking, wow, okay, let's go for it. Let's see what's going to happen. And there was a new first team manager at the time. He'd come in place of Perry North East, who just left after winning the title and doing phenomenal things at the club. And he kind of had a chat with me and asked me if I wanted to kind of get involved with the women's team and the first team level. And I think at that time I was looking to get onto my B licence and do 11v11 work. And for me, it was an opportunity to work with him and get an understanding of it. And 3 months later, he ended up resigning and they wanted to go in a different direction. And there was me kind of thrusted into the spotlight and given an opportunity at 24 to work with some unbelievable players, some unbelievable athletes, and basically learn. It's like throwing into the deep end when you can't swim and saying go for it. So it was a phenomenal. It's been a phenomenal process. 4 years of pure learning with, like I said before, some great athletes, some great people. Gemma Hillier, one of the Hall of Fame inductee. Some players now that are playing higher, Sarah Kempson, Lita Rutherford, some phenomenal characters, and it's really helped shape me who I am and where I want to go, really. So it's been a really, really big learning curve, a steep learning curve to say the least.
Absolutely. You were saying, obviously, when you joined, and you're saying it's a steep learning curve, the initial moments in the job, did you feel like it was quite easy to sort of step up to the manager after being assistant, or was it a bit of time to sort of bed in?
I think only recently have I really thought about it, and to be fair, I was and I probably felt completely out of my depth. Just getting onto my B licence. I think at the time it's 11v11 and the understanding of the the complexities of tactics and that lot. I was probably still growing from that. I was very used to the technical elements with the under-9. So going from under-9 boys into senior women's football was
a whole different
crazy. And to be fair, if you do that now, you get eaten alive with some of the qualities of the players. Not only are they good footballers, but they understand the game and they want to know more. And you've got to kind of know that little bit more and help and guide them, really. So at the time, I think it was massive credit to the players that were there to kind of help guide me through it as well. I'll be honest, there was a little bit of a naivety probably, and the players and even the chairman at the time, Mick Williams, him and his wife Anne, they kind of gave you're looking at a 24-year-old kid with not many connections in a game, no real understanding, an opportunity to go for it. And it could have gone two ways in a way, and I owe them a lot, to be fair, to understand how a football club's run from off the pitch and as well as on the pitch, of what I want the team to look like, how it's going to look, and the recruitment process, the way the game's grown now, with talking with agencies, and it's really grown. And I'd like to think I've grown with it in a way. Made a lot of mistakes along the way, don't get me wrong. Some I'm not proud of, and some probably were just had to be made at the time in order to learn, in all honesty, and hopefully I've learned from it. I know what I want, and I can kick on with it really now.
Like you say, when you went into the sort of role, you felt like you were out of depth, and you said it's sort of testament to your players, because did you feel like you grew with the squad as well, as much as you were growing your own sort of managerial like skills and experience?
Yeah, and it was weird because I've never really had any experience of the management label. The coach was always the aspect I wanted to go into, and then the management side of things where you're dealing with people, and it's something that I really enjoy now. And at the time, was getting an understanding of people and people understanding me and finding out who I wanted to be. So probably a lot of promises that I couldn't keep at the time to try and keep people happy. And that was probably my biggest problem at the time, was trying to keep everyone happy, and you can't. It's simple as in football. But the way you're probably more likely to keep them happy is by being honest. And if the honesty is you're not starting at the week because of this, you don't have to agree with it, but respect it. And I think you'll gain that respect. And I think I had to learn that quickly with some of the characters that were at the club. But I think some of the older characters at the club, or some of the more senior players at the time, we got one who's with us now, Molly Clark. People like her, like I said before, Sarah Kempson, Lita Rutherford, Gemma Hillier, Nadine Bazani. These were all characters that unfortunately went on to leave and move to other things and or if retire. And it was a shame to see them go, because you wanted to build around this team with these experienced players that had won the league before with Perry. And it wasn't meant to be, but I do think I grew with them. I felt like I was a part of them, and I was with them all the way. And I think they really helped me understand where I wanted to go and what I wanted to be. And over the journey, coming across some really experienced players and players who played at high level, there's been some real standout individuals that have not only helped me from a footballing side, but also from the management side of understanding what the women's game is, what's expected, and how I'm going to act. And I think that's testament to a number of players. Probably the biggest one who had the biggest impact was a girl called Charlie Boswell. We signed her from Brighton, who'd won the league. She's now at Lewis, and she's probably the one who's had the biggest impact on me. And it's a player, one of my players, kind of my captain at the time. And if it wasn't for her, I don't think I'd have this level of understanding of the importance within the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And then obviously you've been there a fair few years now, isn't it? 4.
Yeah, 4 years now, yeah.
And you've done all right, considering you were out of depth at the start. Could you explain some of the successes that you've had with the team, and some of the experiences you've obviously had?
Yeah, still being here now is probably a success. From the 4 years, but it's been crazy. From the first year, you're turning up with teams like we were talking before, like Tottenham's and West Ham's, who are now in the Super League, and the setups they had, they were terrific. And at times, I'd sit back and just admire the football and think, wow, this is phenomenal. And if more people had the exposure to come and watch it, I think they'd be thinking the same. And then on the other hand, I'm waking up thinking, hang on a minute, this is against my team. Where do we want to go? And I think some of the biggest successes aren't just the footballing side and the wins. And although we've won, in my time, I think we won 3 Hampshire Cups, which is really good, beating Southampton in each one of the finals, whichever Southampton team it is, which is always a positive. And unfortunately, with COVID, the final against Southampton this year might have to be pushed back, or we'll see with that. So they're obviously footballing successes. But my biggest successes for me is I get a big satisfaction out of the development of players. So when I do see certain players we've had in the past, Charlie Boswell being one, Sammy Quayle another, Shannon Albury, some young players getting the opportunity to step up to the next tier or the tier above. In Shannon Albury's case, she ended up going to Yeovil when they were in the Super League. So watching her debut, she's coming out against Arsenal with her family, and I'm watching there with the family and my wife thinking, wow, the satisfaction of being a minute part of her development is massive. And there's been a lot of players I've gone off to see, a youngster, Alex Colligan, going off to the States, and a few other players that we're seeing develop into really good players, which is great to see. But I think now, from the selfish point of view in the club, since we've kind of been taken under the umbrella of the main club, it's been a project where now it's about keeping hold of these players, allowing them to grow and develop within our setup in order to take them higher. And I know we were chatting before, you're a Watford fan, and they're a big competitor in our league, and I think they're the same. There's a couple of real good sides in our league that are also aspiring to hopefully get up to tier 2 and make this setup as professional as we can for the girls to continue their growth.
And you sort of, in terms of the men's team, obviously the men's team are quite successful, just for Watford and Portsmouth and some other clubs in that league, and it's sort of like you want to be able to give the girls the opportunity to gain the exposure as much as the men's.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously not all the clubs at our level or even the level above are aligned with fully professional men's sides. So it's a huge testament to the clubs that aren't, for them to continue performing at the way they do and
absolutely
getting the exposure out there to the local residents or local people in the communities. With us, it's been a fantastic journey since being under the main umbrella. We've in constant contact with operational meetings with the media team and the marketing team, and also with Mark Catlin at the top and Anna Mitchell. They've been 2 phenomenal characters within our growth and our journey off the pitch to enable us to really push on. And I think that the media side's been massive, and it is massive with women's football. It is about getting it out there and making it appeal to, especially to the younger generation. A lot of young girls who aspire to play football. A lot of their role models probably are from the men's game, and now it's about giving them role models that are aligned with them, female role models who play football, who are committed to the sport, who love the sport, and we want to give them the next generation. And I don't think there's apart from, I'm probably biased, apart from Liverpool and a couple of other northern cities, Pompey's a city that just thrives upon football.
Absolutely.
It's the reason why I've stayed down here. It's the reason why I've got family down here, and hopefully I'll live most of my life down here, really. I love the place, and now it's about giving Pompey a successful women's team to also be proud of, as well as the men's team.
Of course, and like you say, Portsmouth is a massively proud city in terms of football, but also different aspects that have gone on throughout the years for them. I just want to go back a little bit in terms of, I want to ask what sort of a manager do you feel like you are? In terms of, do you feel like you're more calm and collected, or do you feel like you're the other way?
It's probably changed over the years. I think since I've spoken with a lot of people, and since my external qualifications have happened, and chatting with FA tutors and other people, and kind of getting a perception of who I want to be and how that's going to look. Passionate about the sport, not just football, but I'm passionate about women's football. I do think it's the same sport, but it's a different game, and you've got to respect the fact that there are differences in the game, and everyone's got a preference with football, and I'm a big admirer and a big fan of women's football. The commitment levels from the players are phenomenal, and I think if you've got that same work ethic and same commitment towards them, you'll get it back. And that's probably something that is something ingrained in me as a work ethic. I work as hard as I can to get the outcomes I want. Like I said, very passionate. Sometimes it gets me in trouble, both on and off the pitch, with certain things I want and how I want to see it. And I think I've learned now to kind of understand when there's a time to be calm and collected and when not. But sometimes football gets you. If there's a penalty decision in the last minute not given, then trying to keep your emotions and your control in a game is very difficult. And it's easier said than done. But I'd like to think I'm a bit of a communicator, a bit of a I'm big on, like I said, on people, understanding people, getting to know what makes them tick, and I think building a positive culture and working around the psychological element of the players and of the group. I think if you've got a good tight-knit group, then the ability will shine, and there's no point having individuals who are these maverick kind of egotistical players that are very good but won't mould into what you want. I've found out over time, yes, they're good players, but you need a collective group, and I think we've got that now with these players. I'm very I speak highly of this group of players and staff. I really do. No egos at all. They leave that at the door. But they're all here for a reason, and that's to play football, and they all share that same passion.
You have quite a very close knit squad as well. I've seen from what I've looked at. You've definitely got a team that want to definitely stick together.
Yeah, obviously it's unprecedented times, as we were speaking earlier, with everything that's going on at the minute, and we've probably got some unfinished business after last season, not really having the consistent season we wanted. The lack of games wasn't ideal, but like I said, this group of players, they're committed and they want to push forward really, and I love that about them. I really do. I love working with them. It's a blessing every time you get to go to training and games, and you have so much fun. But we've all got our eye on a prize, and next season we're not going to bat an eyelid and shy away from the fact that we want to try and push for a title. There's got to be a time when it's going to happen. It's probably been 4 years of learning, of growth, of turnover of players in and out, trying to figure out what we want. But I feel like we've probably got a game model now where we understand what we want both on and off the pitch. We've got an understanding of the recruitment process, of the right players we need and we want, and if we can get maybe one or two faces in, and on the backroom staff as well, we've got some really intelligent members of staff now, recruiting a couple for last season ahead of this season. Yeah, we really want to push on now for sure.
And from my experience of Portsmouth Women, they've always been there and thereabouts under your reign. I wouldn't want to put too much pressure on the team, but you certainly are one of the bigger teams in your league, and hopefully promotion will be on the cards. But I just want to go into this season, obviously gone, despite it finishing so abruptly. How do you feel it sort of went in the league and cup-wise?
I think very difficult, very frustrating through the last games. I think we had 19 postponements. The weather didn't exactly deal us a good hand. And obviously the pitch down at Baffin's Milton, who we shared with, a fantastic facility, a great up-and-coming club, real community-based club, and someone that we really want to hope we can continue the partnership with. There's just troubles with the pitch and the weather, and a combination of that really affected us with our games as well as their games. So trying to get some consistency with our football matches was very difficult. You'll be playing 1 week, 3 weeks off, and next minute you're coming up against a team who've played in the last 4, and fitness-wise and mental-wise, we're trying to get ourselves prepared. So it's very difficult to reflect upon individual moments. But we had good run in the cup, in the League Cup, and we unfortunately got knocked out Southampton, I think, in the quarterfinals, which was disappointing, something we wanted to really kick on with in that aspect. And then in the league, we had some real big wins in the league and some real good moments in terms of our performances. But a couple of early home defeats against Watford and Oxford probably didn't help. Yeah. And it's something from a mental point of view we need to put right now for next season, is having a little bit more of a siege mentality when we're at home, and making it a bit more of a fortress, as they say, with the men's side at Fratton, and really, really making it hard for opponents to come and play. And I think that's understanding the game craft and the mental side of it. But it was a good season. I'd say I think it was the frustrations are dealt with the lack of games, but overall our win percentage was higher than it has been in previous seasons. Our goals per game was higher, our goals conceded was lower, and some of the performances were really good. And I think there's a lot we can build on for the upcoming season, whenever that may start.
Yeah, looking at the league today, I think it's something like you've got 5 games in hand. Looking at the league, but for people that may not know a lot about your squad, could you name a few of the characters and some of the players that may go unnoticed, but people should look out for?
Yeah, we've got, like I said, I could list them all. Honestly, I feel more that they're all there really. A couple of the real good characters, I'd say, and probably the ones that don't get as much recognition, I'd say. We've got a midfielder called Jay Bradley. She's dual national with Hungary, so her next stage is trying to get onto the international stage, and she's got all the ability, but does a lot of the dirty work in midfield. So we've got some good players in midfield: Dan Rowe, Molly Clark, Kate James, Becky Bath, some really good ball players. And Jay Bradley probably does a lot more of the running, the dirty work, and lets them kind of get the accolades in a way with what they do. So she's a top draw player. I'd say Ailey Curry's a player that we've been at the club now since 2014. So she's one of the higher appearance makers within the squad. Goes unnoticed with her qualities at the back, and her development has been phenomenal over the time I've been at the club. Her temperament with her 1v1 and her decision making's improved, and she kind of adds that extra bit of quality and understanding of what the badge really means, what Pompey really means, and she probably goes unnoticed with other defenders like our club captain Millsy, and got a youngster Jazz Younger who's really ready for that next step up and just needs to make that breakthrough. And Rebecca Thompson, Laura Ingram there. Rosie McDonald, I probably couldn't speak highly of her. She probably needs a lot of recognition. She works for the NHS, so she's been working consistently through this pandemic. And she's been a revelation of a signing for last season. And we've got some really talented players. We've got a really talented youth kind of influx of youth players as well coming through the PITC Academy. A guy called Taylor Monk who leads that and heads that, done a fantastic job over the years. And we actually signed a young protege called Mia Adaway at the start of the season. She scored her first goal against Oxford actually. And she's a real good, tenacious young player with a big future ahead. And for us, it's about how can we aid her development within this group of players when we've got so many good attacking players. Tam, Storms, Hayley, Chucky. I probably listed most of them really. The only ones they haven't is Hannah and Mel. Now they've all got a shout out. I honestly, picking up players is so difficult, but I think they all deserve recognition for what they've done for the time of the club for sure.
How would you describe your way of playing?
I like to play football. I like to get the ball down, and probably over years it's gone from overplaying and a bit of a naivety to being a little bit more effective with the ball now. There's a reason why you've got a ball, and if we can turn over a team early, then we will. Very energetic, tenacious, want to press, want to be aggressive with everything we do. Intensity is kind of key with everything we do. And we want to be exciting to play for and exciting to watch. I think we want players to kind of want to join us because we've got an attacking blueprint that we want to score as many goals as possible, and we want to be aggressive with when we lose the ball and send numbers high, and also for those that come and watch us, we want it to be entertaining. We want them to pay their money and enjoy coming to watch us and understand we have got a clear identity of how we play. A lot of our principles of our play probably adhere to the values of the city, a very passionate city, and very intense with their football, and we want to do the same. We lose the ball, you've got to be aggressive without the ball, and when we have got the ball, let's attack.
Yeah. In terms of your playing style, do you feel like you've always had that identity, but sort of at the start, in terms of not having that experience yet, did you feel that sort of fell by the wayside? But the more you sort of gradually sort of grew into the role, you feel like you've been able to stamp that identity more?
Yeah, and I think there's probably two variables really, but behind that was one, the players you've got at your disposal. So when I first joined the club, regardless of the system or the strategies I wanted to implement, the players suited a style, and it was a 4-2-3-1 system, very attacking fullbacks, wingers coming inside, and we were quite quick on the turnover, get the ball up there, press high, and that's kind of what we were all about, really, because trying to keep the ball at that time, and when you're playing teams like Charlton and Crystal Palace and Tottenham and West Ham, real good footballing teams, you didn't have a lot of the ball, so you had to be effective when you did have it. But also the variable is, like you said before, my understanding of the game and my understanding of what I want to see. That's probably developed more over the years since a lot of external CPD events and currently on my A license right now, and really learning what it is to be that elite level coach and what I want to see, and creating a game model. Now we've got something in place where I'm very comfortable with it. We've got a system that we are very committed to. We know how we want to play, and then we recruit for players to fit within that system. We've got certain non-negotiables in terms of how we play with having two strikers up top. A bit of a non-negotiable. We want to pin high. We want to press high. We want players to be energetic. So we've kind of got an understanding of what players we want within them system, and now we try and recruit within. But I think that's also helped from understanding the recruitment policy in the women's game, trying to get a gauge of who's available, who does what their strengths are, will they fit us. And over the years, it's been a challenge, but something that we feel we're on top of now.
Brilliant. And you've touched upon it a little bit. What has it been like being in the National League? Is it South Division? It's quite a competitive league, isn't it? With, like, we've touched upon Watford, and there's many teams in there that may not be in touch with their men's side, but there's certainly teams that can go out and play.
Yeah, and I think you have to respect all the teams that are in our league.
Yeah.
Any given moment, every team's got players that have got the quality to turn a game on its head. And there's, you mentioned Watford being one. Crawley have had a phenomenal season in their first year at this level. Oxford, since they dropped down with Watford, they've got some real good players and a real good way of playing. Plymouth, the Oval, Cardiff. The list goes on, really. It's a real competitive league, and I think now the kind of the Super League and the Championship have aligned more, and since that application process, regardless of whether people agree with it or not, I do think it's aligned the league more, and the competitiveness of the league is there to be seen. Anyone can beat anyone on any given day, and although Sunderland in the northern section were 9 points clear or something, in the southern, there was so much still to play for, and who knows what would have happened in our league. But that just makes for a more interesting next season when that resumes. Yeah,
of course. And I want to touch on, it's actually quite a sad topic, but I feel like it needs to be spoken about in terms of sort of discrimination in ladies football. When I've spoken to people, it feels like it's almost naivety that is getting in people's way to sort of go and watch ladies football. Have you experienced anything sort of being said at games, particularly at Portsmouth?
Yeah, firstly, apologies for my dogs.
No, don't worry.
They were going absolutely mental at the door then. No, I've thankfully not come across anything like that, which is good, and nor have my players received anything from that. But I do know it is an issue, and it is a topic within society, really, especially at these times we're talking about. There are other issues in society that we're trying to deal with too, but I've seen a few issues relating to women in football, and you always see it on social media. And unfortunately, when anything kind of gets published from a more of a national perspective, there are always these throwaway comments. And I think there was one occasion where I did bite back a little. I probably shouldn't have, but I think being in the game, you get an understanding of what these girls have to sacrifice and the commitments they make.
Absolutely.
From working all day and then turning up to training after a hard day's work, the sacrifices they make with their families and with their careers and jobs. They want to give everything they can in football, and then they'll kind of start their career pathway at the end of their football, so that they've always got something to look back on football. And it is a shame that we can't see them as at the end of the day, these are football players that play the game they love. I get there's a lot banging on about equality, and I do believe in it. I do believe there are things that should be equal within the game and within society, and I do think we've got a lot more and a long way to go before putting it right. You could say right now that you look at other countries with the German Bundesliga we were talking about before this, that they're playing, and the actual Bundesliga itself have paid for all the testing kits and PPE for the women's league to resume as well. And that was probably one of the main reasons why the Championship and the Super League weren't able to continue the financial repercussions of the testing element to it. So I still think we're a way off, and there are certain things being said and the actions don't meet that. But all in all, I will give massive credit to the FA. I do think they're growing the game. Yes, I do think it's slowly, but I do think they're growing the game and they're working with it. And I think it's down to us and people in the game and clubs in the game to also push that too. And we're massive on it. The football club are big on it. They want to see us as equal with our football players, getting the right opportunities to showcase the football, to showcase who they are. And eventually in time, hopefully it will be up there. But when you're talking about demand and supply and the finances, you've got to be realistic. And the women in football, they are realistic. They understand that the finances in the men's game is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Yeah. But having said that, do these women deserve a living wage to play football? Yes. Now the question is, how can that look? How will that look moving forward? And hopefully there is a time where being a women's footballer is not just a dream. It can actually be achieved from a lot of young girls that are growing up. We want it to be a job. We want them to have a career in it. I want them to have a career in it. I think there's a real need for it, and hopefully Portsmouth as well can be a club on the map that really want to push that too, because I know it's an ambition of theirs and an ambition of mine.
What do you feel like needs to happen, do you think, for ladies football in general, for it to become not as popular as men's football, but for there to be more emphasis on the ladies' game?
I think first off, there needs to be. What you can say?
Sorry, more than we have now, anyway, because it's definitely on the rise.
Yeah, definitely on the rise, and it's definitely growing. And over the last 4 years, I've really seen the growth of it, and it's been fantastic to be involved in it, and may that continue. I think there needs to be a massive shift in the mindset and perception around the game.
Absolutely.
From everyone looking into it. Like you said earlier on, everyone's allowed a preference. Everyone, tea or coffee, that's a preference. Women's football, men's football. All right, you could kind of argue there's a preference if you want to watch one or the other, but respect it for what it is. I said earlier, it's the same sport. At the end of the day, it's 22 players kicking a football into a goal. It's just a different game, and there are differences. I keep saying the genetic makeup of a female is different to one of a male, so there are going to be some physical differences. But as soon as you get into the stage where you're comparing, I don't think that's fair to compare. No. Go and watch it with your naked eye and understand it for yourself, and understand that it deserves the recognition in its own right. And I'm a big advocate of that. But I also think football clubs in itself can do more. Only recently did Manchester United have a women's team, first team. And yeah, crazy. And I think there are a lot of other clubs that could probably support their women's team more. That's not no dig at Portsmouth, because they're doing a phenomenal job. We're a sustainable club with a great model and good ambition. And I think a lot of other clubs could give, if they gave the same time and effort to their women's team, then they could be in a similar position. But also, it's the finances of it. People might disagree with me, and we're all allowed our opinions. And I think it's a cycle, really. The more finances, wherever we may get that from. I know Lewis did they did a big thing on the FA Cup money. Probably the FA, if they did increase our FA Cup funds, then more money will be going into the setup, and then with more money, you can then invest that in the correct areas, whether that's resources, like footballs or GPS systems, or helping the recovery of players, and even kit for some teams. Then as soon as you invest in that, then the quality of players and coaches within the game grows. The game itself and the quality of the game grows, and then more people come and watch it. And there's kind of a cycle, and you don't know really where to start the cycle. But I do think if something was put in place, like it has been in the Super League, where Barclays or Barclaycard have sponsored that, there is finances, and it's just whether or not that filters down to other clubs who have ambition of moving forward. Not every club can put 2-3 million into their women's club. It has to be sustainable over time, but if you have a model in place, then there's no reason why you can't push it forward, and that's what you need to do. Really, you need to have a lot of people interested and willing to push the game forward, and I think we're hopefully getting there.
And that's hopefully the end game. Hopefully, like you say, ladies in the game can hopefully start earning a sustainable wage from it and make the sort of dreams a reality.
Yeah, definitely. And I especially as when you look back in history of 50 years where women weren't allowed to play the game. Yet before that, the attendances at some of the women's game were just as high, if not higher, than some of the men's. And I know Portsmouth, before we were founded as such, that there was a game down at Portsmouth, and we've got the Pompey History Society have got pictures of that, and the array and hundreds of fans coming down to watch it, and it got recognition. But the 50 years where it wasn't, it's obviously taken a dip, and now it's slowly growing back up there. But I think the biggest issue is the comparison always with the men's national league or the men's Premier League or the men's. I think that's unfair to say, and I think when equality is being branded around, automatically there's comparisons made, and I don't think that's fair at all. I think it needs to have its own respect and its own right. Like I said, since I've been in it, I'm a big admirer. I've enjoyed every minute of it, and long may that continue. I'm got no ambitions to go anywhere else. I'm happy at Portsmouth. I'm happy with the setup we've got now, and hopefully our aim is to keep pushing Portsmouth forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And just more onto a brighter note, what's next for Jay Sadler and Portsmouth Women?
Yeah, well, in the short term, it's like I said before, getting the girls back in training, adhering to the FA guidelines. Now we've got the green light from our chairman, Eric, and welfare officer Bill, which is really good. And then we'll see where that really goes in terms of obviously the groupings getting bigger and bigger, and our preparations starting with contacting teams about penciling potential friendly matches when we can. Obviously, still understanding that we are in a pandemic, and it's very difficult, but you've got to have these preparations in place. And we've got an ambition, and the players and staff are all aligned to it, of trying to compete at the top end of the league. We want to get this club up. We've got a lot of things in place off the pitch and on the pitch to try and get there. And that's the aim for myself and these players. We want to be playing or coaching at the highest level. That's ultimately all of our ambitions, mine included. I want to be coaching or managing at the highest level, and in order to do that, we need to be successful here. And it's kind of understanding what the process is going to be to get there. And with this pandemic, there's been, like you said before, some really good time to reflect and prepare with the staff and players of how that's going to look, leaving no stone unturned, and hopefully we can turn that success on the pitch.
Of course. Thank you so much for coming on, Jay. I've really appreciated it. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like, please share it, and also if you want to see more of what Jay's got in store and also what Portsmouth Women have got in store, please share Portsmouth Women's social media, but also Jay's at Sadler 004, and we will see you in the next video.